Welcome, welcome, everybody. This is Denise Parker once again for the How to Land a Dream Job series, mapping out your career path with our special guest, T-Mobile. Super excited for you guys joining today. Again, this is an opportunity for you to figure it out, and we want you guys to figure it out. The only way you can figure it out is by asking questions and going to events like this. And part of our event series is awesome, and we have one more that T-Mobile is leading next Tuesday at the same time. Same bat channel. No, I'm just kidding. You have to register for that one too. And it's more about interviewing like a pro. I love this topic that we're talking about, this all career trajectory. So that being said, before we get started, I just have some housekeeping rules. Please raise your hand before you ask a question. Type it in the chat if you like. But if you want to come on camera or lease your audio on, please raise your hand. Also, we are a nonprofit, a 501c3. We help students get to their successes wherever that is. It's college, careers, and beyond. That being said, this is our donation page. If you're interested in learning more about our organization, you can go to thecollegeexpo.org and you select Support Us under Donate. You will see the awesome opportunities we have right here in our donations page, where we helped over 200,000 students get into, we help them per year, and we've helped over 600,000 students get into college, careers, and beyond. So it's kind of like one of those things where once we start supporting, we can't help it. And also, we have an opportunity if you're interested in any kind of sports. If you go under our programs page, under student athletes, we have tons of virtual opportunities there too for student athletes. Share it with your friends. We have some events coming up with their virtual series. It's a virtual recruiting workshop series for those who are interested in anything in sports. That's all kinds of sports, from basketball, football, baseball, track and field, and that's just the start. It's called Are You going to be a star athlete? Are you a 5-star athlete? This is a session 2 for on December 8th. Great opportunity. It's located again under the virtual recruiting seminars under programs and student athletes program. Uh-oh, hold on.
Please exit through
And
the rear
please
door.
mute your phone, or please mute your, there you go. All right, thank you. And then also our internships and careers page. Our internships and careers page is where, that's my department. That's where I service you guys. You'll see an opportunity to fill out our profile form powered by Matchplicity, where we can get you matched with recruiters. Our How to Land a Dream Job series is on there. For the last session is next week. We have a jobs and internships YouTube recording that we have. And then, of course, our partner is right here joining us this session, T-Mobile. Their internships are open. We, of course, have other partners that are there to service you guys. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, you can see just some tips, some things that kind of reiterate all the things that we're talking about today. So hopefully this helps you. And again, that's under programs, internships, and careers under thecollegeexpo.org. Now it's time to get started. It's your session, T-Mobile. Introduce yourselves and tell us who you are so that we can get to learning.
Awesome. Thanks, Denise. Thank you guys for having us and tuning in today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because I have our intro slides up on there. So give me just a second. Okay, well, hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's T-Mobile Tuesday over here, so we always love Tuesdays. I am Lacey Craig. I'm a senior program manager on the military and diversity recruiting team. I support our lines of business within our call centers, our T-Mobile for Business and Government, and our back office positions. And I am here with my esteemed colleague, Lauren Satterwhite.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lauren. I work alongside Lacey as a program manager. I help support our retail line of business, our internship program, and also just HBCU recruiting in totality. Super excited to be here and join you guys.
Awesome. Well, today we are going to take you through something called mapping your career. But before we do that, I would be remiss if I didn't highlight some of the reasons to love an opportunity, whether it's here at T-Mobile or other employment opportunities. Just kind of the top 10 reasons to consider. This goes hand in hand with what we're going to talk today about with mapping your career journey, how to land that dream job. It all starts with research and really where your passions lie and what you're passionate about, what you love, what are non-negotiables for you. And we'll dive into that too. But these are 10 things to consider why we love T-Mobile. But when you're looking for a job, what to look for in other employment opportunities or companies, and what you could potentially love about them. So out of this list of 10 reasons, what are your top 3? What are some things that are really important to you as you're looking to navigate your career and land that dream job? What are some things that are important to keep an eye out on? So we'll go ahead and come back to this if anybody has any questions. But these are just kind of the top 10 reasons to love an opportunity as you're looking for your next career move or your first job. Okay, let's talk about mapping your career. This can be so tricky because it's always hard to figure out where to start. How do I know where to start when I'm looking for a career? Probably the first important thing is geography. So you want to figure out where you want to work, where you want to live, and then start by looking for roles in that direct area. So if you are living somewhere currently, but you're looking to move or you're open to move, and location's not a super big important thing for you, then geography may not be as important, but maybe you make a list of key cities or top locations that you are interested in finding a role in. That way you can start by seeing what jobs are hiring there, what type of opportunities there are. If you're super interested in one company in particular, let's say you're interested in T-Mobile, you might start by looking where some of the office locations are if you're looking for a non-retail or non-customer facing role. And then that could maybe determine your geography of where you're going to land or look for your next job. The easiest way also to look at kind of like a market research or different avenues is through Indeed, LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, CareerBuilder. The National Labor Exchange is another really good one that can kind of determine and show you who's hiring based on that geographic location. Also some of the key roles and positions that they have available. And you can also, I recommend that as you're even looking for geography or looking for roles within a specific company, that you try using skills as keywords and not necessarily a job title, because that could really limit your job search. So if you're looking for where to start, maybe you're getting a degree in marketing. So you want to look at roles with marketing, and there are specific skill sets that, are a requirement, or systems. So if I think about technology, maybe you're looking to get into something that requires Java or SQL or coding. You can put those keywords in instead of a job title. That will open your job search up to maybe different job titles instead of limiting to just program manager or just project manager or customer service. If you put in customer service, the world is going to be at your fingertips. I mean, so many different jobs are going to pop up if you put customer service in. But then you can really decide, do I want in-person customer service? Do I want call center? Do I want outbound customer service? So really understanding where to start in terms of where you want to live, where you want to work, doing some research on what companies are hiring where. That may help you with kind of determining what roles to start applying for as you're getting started with your search. Lauren, anything else to add on that maybe I left out?
No, I think what goes with this too is just like Lacey mentioned at the beginning, being comfortable with the location that you do choose when it comes to geography. You see a lot of positions listed as hybrid, you see positions listed as remote, in person. Just make sure you know exactly what you want out of that job, because that can narrow your search down as well.
Yep. And it can definitely pigeonhole you if you're like, oh, I love that job, but I don't want to live there. Maybe I'll only live there for like a year. It's not cheap to move. And, then you try to establish roots and maybe the company won't pay for you to move. So Be realistic when you're thinking about this. If you're truly open to wherever, maybe also do some research on the weather, what, different things go on in certain areas, what those towns and cities are like or what they offer before you even, extend interest into that company, because you definitely don't want to get stuck somewhere that you think will be okay. That's not. I know I've done it in my career. I took a role that was supposed to only be a year, ended up being 2 years. I hated where I lived. I was miserable. I was far away from my family, all of the things. And I essentially ended up leaving the company because they couldn't get me closer to where I wanted to go. And that was unfortunate because I loved the company. It just wasn't working out and aligning with where I wanted to be geographically. So this actually is more important than a lot of people think. So put some intentional thought into where you're starting because your dream job may just have to go on the back burner as you work your way into something if geography is the most important factor for you. Okay, industry and profession. I want to kind of establish the difference between the two because this also helps when you're looking for specific jobs. A profession describes the particular work that you do, like expertise that you have, network administrator, technology manager, program manager. If you understand the difference between the industry and profession, you open yourself up to more possibilities. So if your profession is a network administrator or a technical job, but you're working in the finance industry at Bank of America, that kind of shows that not all tech roles are for tech industry, specifically. So here at T-Mobile, we have a team like our finance team. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to be an accountant. That's not what I want to do. So why would I apply for a role on the finance team? I'm like, actually, the finance roles, probably accountant is like 5% of the positions we hire for in finance. We're looking for more data analysts. We're looking for, folks that can be financial analysts, do a lot with like the data on the tail end or on the back end within finance and not so much the accounting piece. Also, I met somebody that's a program manager within finance. So they manage different programs that the finance team supports. Like Lauren and I are program managers within HR, but you can be a program manager in legal and finance and corporate communications. We have program managers everywhere. You can be back office support for our consumer teams. So understanding the difference between a profession and an industry is important because if you just say, I want to work for the banking industry, that doesn't mean you're going to be a banker, right? That doesn't mean that you're going to do the standard stereotypical job within that industry. It's more important to really decide what profession you want to do. What do you want to focus on? Do you want to work with customers? Do you not want to work in person with customers? Do you want to work behind the scenes and do like that technical support? My passion was always helping people do something. So I knew like, I don't know what I want to do. I just want to help people. So I started in customer service. I worked in retail for the first 12 years of my career. And then I moved into human resources because I was helping people with getting ready for jobs and interviewing and exploring what kind of roles that they were really interested in. So kind of think about, instead of saying like, I'm going into the finance industry or, I'm going into the banking industry, you can really think about what type of profession you want, because guaranteed there are industries that have professions that you would never guess. So, I mean, even here at T-Mobile, we have facilities managers. We have, let's see, what I found out one the other day that I was like, I had no idea we have security teams. So, we have security teams that work at our headquarters locations or security for our CEO or other high executives within the company. There are so many different professions within the telecommunications industry that you don't even have to say like, I want to work on phones or I want to be a network engineer or You know, I want to work in IT in order to work at T-Mobile. That's not always the case. So if you focus more on a profession of what you want to do versus where you want to do it, it'll open up a lot more opportunities for different careers. I came from, before I was at T-Mobile, I was at Starbucks. Talk about a huge difference between industries, right? I was in the food and beverage industry doing the same work that I'm doing now in the telecommunications industry. So you can do the same job in different industries. And so it's more important to focus on that than necessarily like what industry that you want to go into. Lauren, anything I missed on that or anything else to add? Cool. Okay, so you've identified where you want to live, where you want to work, what's, you know, important to you in terms of location. Then you've dabbled in what profession you want, what industries that could potentially fall into. Now it's time to apply for your job. So when you get into the job descriptions, what I recommend is that you start looking at job descriptions across different companies to get an idea of what's required in the same role for different companies, because that could also determine the industry that you go into, or, you know, the type of role that you're going to apply to. So the example I have here is for I think I put in program manager, and you can see how different both of these job descriptions are from the same job search. So I put in program manager, but it's going to be very different depending on the industry and the company that you're looking at. Same thing as like if you put in customer experience. I can tell you from experience with this, customer experience can look different too. So I worked at Ross Dress for Less clothing store. Customer experience there is you're standing at a checkout, you're ringing customers up all day, you're, you know, processing transactions, you're restocking shelves, you're unloading trucks. That's customer experience in that regard. Customer experience at T-Mobile, you're learning technology. You're helping customers problem solve their devices. You're talking to them about what 5G means and what their bandwidth is, what plans that they should be on based on the data that they are using, what our internet provides. There are different technical aspects. You're not engaging in customer service or customer experience the same way. The customer experience delivery is different. So you can look for the same job across different companies to get an idea of, okay, I know I want to go into customer experience, but what does that mean? And what different customer experience roles do different companies have that will kind of limit the companies that you're interested in applying to. It'll also give you an idea of the requirements. So let's say you look at a job like where I started at Ross, and you look at their customer experience associate role. And then you look at one at T-Mobile. T-Mobile is going to require a little bit more experience than the role at Ross. So let's say it's your first job, you're 16, 17 years old, you're looking to get started somewhere. You're going to have to start in a role maybe more streamlined to the clothing industry or Ross, or a different customer experience role. And then you can learn what kind of experience you need to move into the next role or to that dream company that you have that may require a little bit more experience. So it's always good to understand, okay, this is where I want to go, but what does that mean for different companies that I might be interested in? Because that'll determine really where you want to start. There may be an age or a experience requirement for the same job that's different for different companies. So looking at these job descriptions and really understanding them is a great place to start once you've kind of landed on what it is that you want to do. Anything else, Lauren, to add to this one?
I would just say too, what's so cool about in today's light is that we have AI that we're able to utilize. So feel free to plug job descriptions into ChatGPT and have them compare it to your resume to see if it does align. I know that that's something that a lot of my friends are doing, I'm doing, just to continue to make sure that your resume matches up with that job description to make sure that you do have the skills for it. A lot of times there's a lot of words on a job description. It can become overwhelming, but ChatGPT or Copilot, it's a great way to kind of condense the information so that it's easy to understand. And then two, kind of holds you accountable when it comes to your resume and if it aligns correctly.
Great call, Lauren. I think that makes things so much easier than in the past when you've kind of had to manually do a lot of this. But I think in ChatGPT, you can also have it pull comparison of jobs that offer like different customer experience roles and stuff like that.
Yep.
So you might not necessarily have to go searching, company to company, but it'll give you a list that then you can go to that company's website to take a look at what the, more in-depth job description is. But you could also use AI to say like, hey, pull the top companies to work for in customer experience, or pull the top companies that are located in San Diego, California, that are hiring. And it can kind of do that work for you instead of having to go through and search all the different job boards too. Good call. AI is like such a great tool at our fingertips now, for sure. Okay. I like this too because this is kind of a way to map out where you want to be in 5 to 10 years. I know when I was early in career and I would work on an individual development plan, my manager would be like, where do you want to be in 5 years? I'm like, look, I'm just trying to get through tomorrow. I have no idea where I'm going to be in 5 years, let alone 10 years, and then here we are 10 years later. And I'm like, am I where I thought I would be, 10 years ago? And so I think that this very simple example is a way to really kind of see, all right, maybe you want to eventually go into some sort of consultation role or marketing firm, right? Maybe you're getting your degree in marketing right now. Where are you going to start? So maybe your career entry level is as an intern, an analyst, doing something like that while you're still in school and exploring those opportunities. And then looking at, okay, what are some opportunities or things that I can go into from here? And then from there, and then so on. If you can't get to 5 to 10 years when you're first doing this, it's okay. Not a lot of people can. The reason why this is important, though, is because as you're looking for mapping out your career, it's important to see if the companies you're applying to even have these growth opportunities, right? Because otherwise, you're going to find yourself job hopping every 2 to 3 years, which is pretty industry standard anymore. But not always advisable. It's hard to learn a new job every couple years and that company and like really establish yourself within that organization and continue to grow without taking steps backwards every time. So it's important in the fact of like, not that you're going to have your whole life figured out or your next 5 to 10 years figured out, but really, okay, if I'm starting here and my next goal is to be here, do the companies I'm applying to even offer that, right? Like, do they even have growth potential or options for me? And if the answer is no, then maybe it is just a stepping stone internship opportunity. And so I think that makes the decision easier in terms of, do I take this job or do I hold off and continue to invest in something that I know would be better for me in the long run? Anything else on this one, Lauren?
No, I think you pretty much covered it.
Cool. Lauren is such a wealth of knowledge, so I always like to check and make sure I'm not missing anything. It's nice to have a different perspective, especially, your recent, well, you graduated what, almost 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, right?
Yeah, 2.5 years ago. Yeah, wow, I'm getting old.
Tell me about it. So I think it's good to also, incorporate input from different levels of career, different levels, out of school. Don't feel like you always have to do this on your own either. Your networking community is going to be very influential for you as you're kind of doing these things and asking, where did you start your career? What do you think? So don't feel like you have to figure all of this out on your own. Utilize your network, utilize people that maybe are in different positions or companies to help you design your career and map this out as you're doing these things. I like to create a list of companies that you're really interested in. And the way that I really broke this down are between dream companies, companies where you know somebody, and companies that are hiring now. So based on what you did at the very beginning with kind of researching the geography, what companies are hiring, what you want to do, you can incorporate those into the companies hiring now. So after you do a search and you see like, oh, hey, I want to move to Washington, D.C. These are the companies that are hiring there. Start writing them down, right? Then maybe go back to companies where you know somebody. Well, do you know somebody that loves their job? That, you might want to look at that company. You don't want to probably invest a lot of time in companies that people work there that you know that hate their job or don't have great things to say about it, right? Everybody creates their own experience, but it's kind of influential on what that person's experience is working where they are. So, take note of companies where you know somebody that works there. And then also your dream companies. Nothing is off limits. I have a peer who was always like, I want to work for Disney. I've always wanted to work for Disney. And granted, they don't work for Disney still as of right now. However, there were roles that they were interested in that they applied to that then they made connections with that in the future could lead to a job opportunity. But every time that they connected with somebody or engaged with that company, it got them closer and closer to where they wanted to be with that dream opportunity. So never feel like anything is off limits, because you never know where eventually you can go or what those dream companies might be hiring for. So starting off here is a great place. You may not have all of the squares filled out, so you might not have an exact position or contact name and all of that, or someone's phone number, but a great place to start with this is LinkedIn. If you don't have a LinkedIn, I highly recommend creating one as you're kind of going through this and making this list, because even if you go on LinkedIn and you search a company, most times it'll give you a recommendation of people to connect with from that company. And then you can start connecting with them and sending messages, see if they're a recruiter, see if they work on the team that you're interested in. And if they're not the right person to connect with, ask them if they would recommend you to the person who is. So this is a great place to start. This should be a working document that you're always focusing on and engaging with, even when you're in your career. So always have an idea of, what companies you want to keep an eye on, what companies you know of people, because I always say the best time to find a job is when you have one. So as you're looking for your next career opportunity, take note of where, you're interested in, or what opportunities you might see pop up, even if you already have a job. This is a great thing to continue to focus on in terms of mapping your career, because if you're not where you want to be now, how are you going to get there? And are you with the company that will help you get to ultimately where you want to land? Anything on this one, Lauren?
I would just say for the companies hiring now, a lot of times they're companies that like you might not even know about, but never be discouraged, because those are some of the best companies where it might be a smaller company, or it might be just a brand that you don't know. You end up learning a lot from that company. And once you get your foot in the door, you're able to kind of dictate where you want to go from there. Like Lacey just mentioned, the best time to look for a job is when you have one. And so never be discouraged with the companies that are hiring now, because it's all about, getting your foot in the door and having that stepping stone to build experience, and then again, eventually work to get that dream job at your dream company by building that network. So no, I think you covered it for the most part. I just want to highlight, never be discouraged of the companies that are hiring now, because a lot of times that's when you can develop your best skill set and really grow professionally.
Yeah, and create that network for the future, because if you're not the candidate chosen for the job today, it doesn't mean you won't be tomorrow. I've seen it happen so many times where, you may be one of the top 5 candidates, but not the one chosen for a job. But if you show that commitment and dedication to the company that you're really interested in, or you're really feeling like this is where I should be, chances are they're going to give another look at what you have going on and maybe pair you up with a job that is a better fit. So I like that, Lauren, that you mentioned don't get discouraged, because you just never know where that road's going to lead. Okay, one of the last things that I want to cover is kind of understanding your bullseye. So your bullseye, when you're mapping out your career and looking for what you want to do, is the most ideal conditions for you. So while you might have to start outside about, your must-haves or your wants-to-haves, to get to the ideal condition for yourself, it's important to understand these things. Like what we started this presentation with understanding maybe the top 10 reasons to love a job. Also understanding for yourself, what are some non-negotiables for you? Like, for me, location is a non-negotiable. I'm very close to my family. I'm a caretaker for my dad. And for me, that's a non-negotiable. So that would be my bullseye. That would be an ideal condition. To be able to have a specific location within a career that you are aiming to get into. And then the salary part is usually pretty important too, or the hourly part. Like what is it going to take to make ends meet and really financially support where you want to be? And so really thinking about that bullseye of what your ideal conditions are, but peeling back the layers. I think anymore, I talk to candidates that are so unflexible to certain things or situations short term to ultimately get to where they want to go. That's going to make it really hard as a job seeker to ultimately land the career that you're looking to get into. If there are things that you can be a little more flexible on, but have some pretty committed timeframes for yourself, let's say it is location, or, I'll do this commute to this office or to this location for a year. Then at a year, I'm going to revisit this conversation with my boss or opportunities within the company to see kind of where we're at and if anything has changed. And then maybe at that point in time, that becomes a non-negotiable for you. But don't put yourself in such a square hole or square box to where you're not a candidate for certain opportunities just because they're a like to have versus a must have. And so really understanding the difference between those two when you're looking for a job. Like if you are in a household, like for me, when I've had a job at a certain point in time, we shared a car. So I had to have a job that was flexible around work time because I shared a car with my spouse, or, with my partner that I was with at the time or whatever. So I think that also understanding that if transportation is a barrier, if there are things to that are a must have, if you're a parent and you're like, I have to be available to pick my kids up, or I'm the caretaker for this person, that's a little different than a like to have. So just understanding for yourself what's a like to have versus a must have, and then working your way towards where you ultimately want to be. I think it's important to really think through these things instead of just discovering it on a whim. Anything I missed on that one?
No, I would agree, but also don't make your range way too wide, where it's just kind of like you are just accepting any and everything, because at the end of the day, things like location, salary, expectations, these things are really important and really can dictate your experience at the job. So don't make make it a bullseye, right? Make it so that you have your non-negotiables, because that is really, really important when you are mapping out your career. You don't want to make it too widespread and just accept any and everything.
Yeah, don't shortchange yourself just
Yeah.
because you're out of desperation. Really, the intent behind all of this is to be intentional and be proactive instead of being forced into situations because, maybe you didn't do these things up front. So hopefully all of these things that we talked about today will help you be more proactive and instead of reactive to different situations. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing my screen and let's open it up to Q&A. Let's see what questions we have.
Let's see. This was awesome, you guys. Thumbs up if you liked so far. Positive, positive. Okay, let's ask questions. Closed mouths don't get fed. This is a great opportunity for you to engage with one of our key corporate partners. Ask a question that if it's related to you personally, if you feel like you want to share, as far as like you're going after something right now and you're just really just stuck on trying to figure it out. Maybe it's a resume question and how it aligns. Does any of the slides kind of resonate with you? What about it did resonate with you? You know, anything is it's very good to share, because you never know what you may say might help somebody else and definitely help yourself.
Yeah, also if there's something that we went over that maybe you don't understand or know where to start, I'm sure the question's on someone else's mind too.
Okay, Regina, you have the floor if you raised your hand. Thank you.
This is a resume question. So I've been looking at some jobs on Handshake, and I was looking at the details, job description, and for let's just say Microsoft, um, if I didn't have this platform today, how would I find out? Well, in the job description, it said they wanted intermediate levels of Microsoft. So how do I find out what is considered intermediate skill level?
That's a great question.
I have some skills, but what do you consider? Now it's got me wondering, well, what's beginners, what's intermediate, and then beyond?
Great question, Regina. First of all, that is very confusing, and I'm going to let my T-Mobile people chime in. But however, I just want to say this. There's so many different levels of how you go after your career, especially if you started the workforce a long time ago and then you came back and you said, I'm going to change it up. And the industry has changed a lot. And so what was more advanced back in the day is now basic. So intermediate, let's go ahead and answer that question, Lacey or Lauren.
Sure. Lauren, do you want me to take this one?
Yeah, you take
Okay,
it.
cool. So when I think about like junior or entry level in career or experience, it's usually anywhere from like 1 to 3 or 1 to 4 years. Intermediate would be considered kind of like mid-career or mid-experience, and that's usually between like 4 and 7 years of experience. And then, professional or more advanced or senior level is going to usually be 7 years plus. There are some jobs that require 10 years or more experience. That's very limited anymore. And that's really like in terms of more technical or leadership experience roles. But if you're looking for Microsoft application experience, that's going to be different. So that's going to be user proficiency. And so if what you're asking for is that they say, hey, you have to have intermediate experience with Microsoft systems like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, any of those things, that's going to be different than years of experience in a specific role. So intermediate experience with a platform or program like Microsoft means that you're not proficient. So you're not like an expert where you know all the things. You're not a beginner to where like maybe you're just opening the platforms and using it at a very basic level. But intermediate would mean you have a higher level of understanding and application of those things and experience with them, to where maybe you could even teach somebody else how to do it or walk them through how to do certain things, but maybe you don't know all of it. So if you're talking about Microsoft proficiency that way, that's what I would say in terms of intermediate and kind of how, and then also how that language relates to job experience, if that's helpful.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Right. So hopefully, Regina, you're going to apply and not be afraid to apply. It's a good thing. Any other questions? You can type it in the chat. I'm looking at the chat. I don't think I've seen it. If I'm missing something in the chat, please let me know. Please let me know. Or raise your hand. I'm trying to think of a question. I actually had a couple while I was making notes. Can we go back to your slides? I just want to go
Sure.
to the slide on design your career, I believe. If that's the one I was looking at.
Yeah, let me pull it back up. Okay, sorry.
And if
I'm
you guys have a question
resharing.
while I'm asking my question, you're more than happy to.
Okay, so this one or this one?
The one, that one right there.
Okay.
Okay, it's so small, so I can't really read, and my eyesight is not the best. So, I wanted to go over the importance of how would you explain again that 5 to 10 year plan? A lot of people take a position and they really don't see themselves working for that company that far to 5 to 10 year in advance. But when you're saying it, are you saying it just for that particular company, or you're saying it in retrospect to the type of, role that you want to have that advances over a lifetime? Like, every 5 years, you're looking at yourself again and saying, hey, I've been doing this for so long. I want to keep, climbing up in this field. Or are you just saying overall career wise? Because field and career, you can, like you said, you can switch an industry, and that's that can open up a whole different career, switching an industry, rather than just having a particular role that continues just to advance within one field. So how would you define the 5 to 10 year career goal and more?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think for the 5 to 10 year, it's really, where do you want to be in your career overall in terms of, do you want to be a manager in, let's say marketing. So this example is about marketing or being working for a consulting firm. Do you want to be a manager? Do you want to ultimately own your own business? So maybe your goal in 5 to 10 years is to learn enough from the industry that you get started in to open your own business. And so I think it's about having those long-term goals of, is this something that I can see myself doing within this company that I'm interviewing for or considering? If I look at the projection of the roles that they have or the teams that they have, how long those people have been in the roles. So for example, a lot of people at T-Mobile have been here for 10, 20 plus years. And so if I look at a specific role that someone's been in for 20 years, it might be a little harder for me to see myself in that position because I might not think they're ever going to leave. So, really then it's about, okay, well, is there a different position that I can grow into or something else that I would be interested in? Because people are staying here a long time, so they must love it. So what else can I see myself doing? But I think it's about understanding, like, is there even that growth potential? Sometimes you get into a role and they do have requirements of, you can only do this for 1 to 2 years. If it's a contract opportunity or, something to where there are limitations on time frame. And so it's important then to think about, okay, maybe I do a contract role for 1 to 2 years, but ultimately I want to be a manager, full-time employed by, a top Fortune 100 company doing this job. So I think it really expands in, do you see this potential with this company? Are you looking to own your own business? Are, like, what avenue are you going to go into? Do you want to develop into a manager? Because then it helps kind of guide you along the way, because 5 years flies by. And so maybe you enter in as an intern and you move into this sales associate role. And then 5 years later, you're still a sales associate. And you look back and you're like, man, I really wanted to be a manager at this point in time. Well, what do you need to do to get there? Right? So it's about being intentional and saying, like, okay, if I want to be a manager in this particular line of business in sales development or marketing, what do I have to do after my degree in order to
Mm.
get there? What
Mhm.
certifications do I need? How many years of experience do I need? Just like we were talking about, entry or junior level, intermediate level, and then, or mid-career level to then senior level in career. What do you have to do to get to each of those, and how much time do you need? Because otherwise, 5-10 years down the road, you're going to be in the same position you were in at year one. And that's a tough pill to swallow sometimes if you really wanted to be somewhere else and
I
you
think
didn't put
that's
the time into thinking about it.
I think that that's why a lot of people are unhappy with their jobs for over a certain amount of time. They come in excited and then it's not what they expected because they've been overlooked. Because sometimes you expect people to see your talent, see your skill set, and they reward you accordingly. But a lot of times within the companies that you work for, you have to go out and make yourself available and make it known that you want to advance. You can't just sit there and expect things to come to you.
Yeah.
So, like Lauren, you were saying that you're constantly looking at ways to improve yourself and looking at the different roles that you can possibly do in your career, not just within T-Mobile, but how far you're going to be working and how far you're going to be doing. That's the same thing that we all should be doing. Is it shouldn't be in a cookie cutter way, like, okay, I graduated from college or I got my certifications and now boom, boom, boom. It's all supposed to line up. Look at those job descriptions, as Lacey and Lauren are suggesting. Research these companies, use AI to research those companies, and find ways to improve your skill set as technology advances, as the industry changes and you see more companies doing more savvier things. I like to look at job descriptions and see what the entry level, the mid level, the senior level, and all the other little levels in between, what those are. And then I tell the students that I work with who are in high school or just in college, I say, look at this is your map. This is your roadmap. Okay, so you want to be a program director. What does a program director have working in a technology company? So when you go to school and you're trying to get those certifications and when you're studying, master these things. Master these things. Maybe it's the communication part. A lot of times a job will train you for the role because they have a different system on how they do these things. It's not the same system as Verizon. It's not the same system, from T-Mobile to Verizon. There's two different systems that they're using. Maybe it's two different languages. For those people who are Android users versus Apple users, those are two different systems, and it works completely opposite when you're looking at the functionality. That's the same thing in certain roles. So don't feel like you're counted out because your age or because you're out of school for too long. As long as you're keeping yourself knowledgeable, current, I think that's a good way to get those 5-10 year goals constantly being revisited. What do you think, Lacey?
Yeah, I think 100%. And also thinking about, like, if you say to yourself, I want to be a director, one day, like, I don't even know what that looks like, but I want to be a director. Then you can kind of move backwards, to level 2, level 3, okay, in order to be a director from where I am today, I got to go to be a senior manager first. And then, from senior manager, I can move into this role. And in order to be a senior manager, these are the requirements that I have to have. So it's good to do that, to kind of move backwards, to say, okay, well, what do I have to do to get to that point? Because it could take a few years of experience or certain skill sets in order to get there.
I love this question. Is in the chat. It says, how do you stand out? Oh, my chat's not moving fast enough. Can somebody read? Okay, hold on. Aha. How do you stand out in the application process specific to the application tracking system?
I can answer.
Go ahead. Yeah.
But first, I want to address something based on this slide on the screen really quick. Also, like, network with people and ask them, people who are in the jobs that you want to do, ask them just how they got there. What was their process like? What was their route they took? Because a lot of people who get to these certain spots in their career, it's always different, right? So always network and reach out to people and see how they got there, and then you can kind of navigate your career path. So I just wanted to say that. And then two, in terms of the application process, something that I've learned from recruiters on how they weed out, like for internships, for example, we get so many applications during the internship portal when internships open. And we don't have like an AI system where they're just weeding people out. It's actually recruiters putting eyes on your application. And something they said that kind of has opened my eyes when I applied to jobs or whatever the case may be. They make sure to eliminate any candidate that skills or preferred skills or qualifications don't match the job application. So if your resume does not directly match that job description, a lot of times you're going to get weeded out because companies are hiring the most qualified candidate. So it's like they can look at your resume for 10, 15 seconds and already see this person isn't the most qualified candidate because they're missing this skill, they're missing this qualification, they're missing this requirement. And so to stand out in the application process, to make your resume stand out, make sure that it aligns with that job description. You will beat out so many more people, more than you know, for that process. And then I always say, you can manipulate your resume to fit that job description. Doesn't mean you have to have the most experience, the most skills, the most whatever. You can manipulate your resume to fit that job description based on projects you've done in school. If you have a little bit of work experience, like utilizing ChatGPT to kind of bring out the creativity in some of the jobs that you've done and be able to actually put it on your resume. So that would be my advice moving forward, but I'll pass it to Lacey in case she has some extra feedback for that.
Nope, I think you hit it spot on. You did great, Lauren.
Awesome.
When we're utilizing ChatGPT, Ernesto's asking a question, are there any guides, resources you recommend for students to use AI for job search? By guides, I mean instructions for students to use ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, or any other, AI resources. One of the things that I can say is that you have to give it it requires a prompt. It requires an instruction. Like when you go to the AI and you type in a question, say that you are looking for a specific role related to whatever that role is, give it really clarification, like be very clear on what you're asking so that when the AI feeds it back to you, it's feeding it back for you to understand based on what you were trying to search for. Not like, just give me research about this particular thing. You like, I'm looking for a job in this particular area. I'm skilled at doing this, but I'm looking for that. How does my resume, stand out compared to, give it a specific thing so that you can actually get the answers you need and then play around with it. The more you practice, the best it can be. And definitely use YouTube to kind of find out different ways that other people have used ChatGPT and other of those AI resources, because when looking for jobs, because they have some different words, phrasing, how you can actually utilize it. Lacey or Lauren?
Yeah, and I think too, platforms like LinkedIn offer free courses that you can take to learn some of these things. So utilize those free resources to also kind of get you to a place to start. And then, depending on the platform, I think that you can also do demos, but yeah, YouTube's a great place to start, as well as LinkedIn Learning.
Oh, wow, we're getting some good questions. Okay. Any advice on working abroad? Okay, when you say abroad, working for a company that has an international presence, it starts in like one country or state or place and then moves to a different place. Is that what you're meaning? Because or just what do you mean by abroad? Because there's different rules for different things. You can if you don't want to type, you can actually ask the question out loud. Maybe they're typing. Okay, hold on. Let's see. Living and working in another country. Okay. Any suggestion for this?
Yeah, we actually see this a lot with the military support that we have here. And I think to Lauren's point about skill set and matching that job description, it's irrelevant in terms of location. So if you have done the job, you've done the job, whether you've done it in the United States or not. So, while there may be different company names or different titles to jobs, you can still explain that you've done the job the same way. So I think, I don't necessarily know. I think it's unethical for companies to ask why you lived abroad. So I don't think that you should have to answer that question, but skill sets and experience are translatable regardless. So I think as long as you're matching those pieces and that you're explaining if there's a difference in company or job title or job description and translating that to match the description of the job you're applying to make sure that your experience is relevant to that, that is the most important part, no matter, regardless of the location, in my opinion. I don't know, Lauren, what do you think?
I agree. I'm not an expert in this, but that makes sense. I think if as long as the skills match up and align, a job shouldn't discriminate against that. So yeah, I agree.
I kind of want to your first slide where it had your 10 reasons. Can you go to that one? That actually can help you figure out if you really want to do that, living and working in another country. You really need to research. My suggestion for you is to research the country, the laws, the rules in relationship to you being a foreigner working in another country. The climate of now today, a lot of people don't want foreigners taking other people's jobs, so to speak. So you need to know the climate. So know your 10 reasons why you want to work there. And if the opportunity presents yourself, how well protected the company is as you're working there. Do they provide living arrangements for you to transition because you're living and moving into a whole different world? Do you speak the language? If it's a different language, will you be willing to learn it? Because you're applying for roles and you get denied and you're like, well, do you speak Spanish? Like, and you're living in Bolivia? Like, okay. So it has to make sense. And if you want to be exposed, maybe there are some, if you're already working for a company, maybe there are some like teams that you can join that are working in those areas. That maybe you can say, hey, I would love to join this team so I can be exposed to the opportunities you have. Can I contribute? You never know if that can be an opportunity for you. You may not be able to switch right away, but you can definitely have some experience in prepping to go into that country so that you can actually have more relationships building as you're going. This is all about relationship building. Nobody wants a person to be representing a company and they're living abroad and they can't, do their job and function and work together with the team, and they don't speak the language. So those are all no. That's a no. So definitely research it. Know your 10 reasons why, so that can keep increasing you to understand what it is that you're doing. Hopefully that can give you more clarity. There's another question about a CV. Is it better to give a career objective or a personal objective? Can I tailor my CV for each job I apply for? Am I okay to mention the company name and role in the objective? Ooh, good question. Lauren, do you want to answer?
Yeah, I can do my best. No, I do think I think both, being able to incorporate both how you are, what makes you stand out in the process and what makes you a good candidate for the job is going to be huge. So being able to tie in both the career objective and the personal objective is going to be huge, right? I think the hardest question to answer in an interview is, why should we choose you for the job? Because a lot of times people are gonna just say, oh, I'm a hard worker and I do this, I do that. But being able to figure out a way to come up with something that's creative, that does make you different from the rest of the candidates. So that would be my advice, would be to tie in both. Because again, you want to put yourself at that company, if that makes sense. But I'll let Lacey kind of piggyback off that.
I agree with that 100%, but make it short. Like your career and personal objective, if you're going to do it at the top of the resume, make it very short because, in all honesty, a lot of recruiters are not even going to read it. So, as much as we would love that for them to put in the time to do that, they're really looking for, does this person meet the qualifications for the job I'm recruiting for? Okay, now let me get to know them a little bit better. So, if you're going to do it, make it short and sweet. Don't have it be an entire paragraph. That's where your LinkedIn comes in to really elaborate on some of the information that you want to get across.
Also, when you're composing a CV, it's more detailed than a resume. So resumes are less, it's a one pager, it's detailed to the job that you're applying to right then and there. A CV has a total job description of your years of experience, detailed to the max sometimes, but it still needs to be short and concise. But it can be pages, for people who are psychologists, they have a CV. Okay. Yeah, somebody who's a program director, they have a CV of the programs that they did because it's detailed out. You want to possibly highlight the things that are most important related to the job that you're applying to, because just like Lacey said, they don't have time to read the entire thing, but they want to see what stands out. So put on that top page the most important relatable things, and then chronological in order, the rest. They will ask you for a CV sometimes, because sometimes they say we want something more detailed. You should have years of experience, so you should have a CV. If you don't know how to compose one, utilize your AI resources. Yay! Use their templates. They will help you, and start documenting the things that you're doing now, especially if you want to advance your career. Okay, so we're closing out shop. Thank you for joining us. This was awesome. And we will have this recording available, and we will send it to you via we will send it to those who, registered, of course. But if you want to get access to it as soon as it's available, we have an NCRF TV channel on YouTube. It's totally subscribe, you'll get total access to all our content, specifically the Hot Atlanta Dream Job series. It's really easy to find. I also lead a session called Elevate Your Game, which T-Mobile also comes on, as a partner, and share tips and tricks and all that good stuff. But all our resources here are for you. And we just want to make sure that you guys have been served. So hopefully this was awesome. And I want to say thank you guys for joining us. I'll stay on until the last man is standing, or one man is standing. If you have any further questions, I'm stopping the recording. Thank you for joining us. We'll be here next week again.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.